Chess friends, welcome back. Special episode today because we're back to talk about the most important component of chess, which is calculation. I've already introduced this component. We've already talked about the calculation algorithm. Today I'll show it to you again. But above all, I'll try, let's say, to answer all the questions that have come in. And I'll also try to clarify better than in previous videos how to apply this algorithm. This topic was particularly well received on my channel. Even on the English channel, it exceeded 20,000 views. So I'd say it's definitely an interesting topic. So let's continue to delve into it and let's go straight to talking about this famous algorithm. This time, however, we're focusing more on its applications. We've already seen the algorithm, this algorithm that as far as Italian nomenclature is concerned, we can call SCAC, SCAC. Obviously, in English nomenclature, it's slightly different, but let's say we don't care much. What matters is that we must look for all checks, captures, direct attacks, or even direct defenses or pawn contacts in the position. This is very important because by looking for these moves, we look at all the moves that are relevant in the position. Why do we have to do this work? Because unfortunately, our mind automatically sometimes deletes certain candidates. Maybe there's a candidate where we leave a piece hanging, and so our mind automatically deletes it. In some way, it tells us, no, you shouldn't look at that move. It's definitely wrong. In most cases, this can even be a positive thing. The fact that our mind doesn't make us waste time on wrong candidates. But sometimes maybe we assume that there's a piece hanging. Automatically, we don't see a certain move. And so at that point, not seeing that move means we don't see the correct moves. What is this algorithm for? Don't worry, now let's get into practice. Now we'll open the chessboard, do an exercise. In my opinion, it's very, very interesting, and let's see how to apply it. This algorithm isn't so much for use during games, because if during games I start looking at all checks, all captures, all direct attacks, well, I'll never finish, especially, obviously, if I'm playing a rapid game, I can't do this. This is useful to me because when I go to train and look for these candidates, somehow my brain gets used to analyzing that type of move and not letting them slip away. So when I'm in a game, even if I don't sit there looking for checks, captures, etc., my brain is automatically more trained to find that type of move and obviously above all not to let them slip away. So the theory of this algorithm is useful for us to apply in our daily training, so more in training than in the games themselves. Let's apply it immediately in this exercise. So I'll tell you right away, at first, if you prefer, you can take a pen and paper and write down these candidates one by one. And then as we discard them, you cross them out, obviously, on the paper. Obviously, the better you get, the more we'll do this work in our heads. First of all, a few seconds to get familiar with this position. So let's start by looking at the material, just to understand what we're playing for. As you can see, the material is equal. Both colors, let's say, have 3 pieces and 4 pawns. Queen, rook. So the material is equal. Obviously, what we can clearly see here is that it's white's move, of course, and we can also notice that both kings are actually quite weak, right? So the black king, for obvious reasons, is vulnerable, but the white king must also be careful, you see, because there are some possible incursions. So that's the position. Very well, after this first analysis, let's look at these candidates. So let's start with checks. As I told you, we must identify every single check, even the stupid ones. So let's start with Queen F5 check. Is it a stupid move? Probably, or rather definitely yes, because the queen is hanging. But for now, we'll put it here, Queen F5 check. Let's look at other checks in the position. Bishop C5 check. And I'd say 4 checks, we're done. Now let's look at the captures. What captures are there in this position? So we definitely have bishop takes f4, and we have bishop takes b6. Here, unfortunately, on Lichess, the arrow is slightly cropped. But anyway, we remember that we also saw bishop c5. So let's see other captures. There are none. Okay, now let's move on to direct attacks. So a direct attack is that move that's directly threatening something. So especially this happens when we threaten maybe an undefended piece or one that's poorly defended. For example, the first direct attack that comes to mind. Let's see if I can use another color. No, this is still the same as before. Okay, perfect. We did it. Let's do it in yellow. Bishop f4 is attacking the rook on a8. Another direct attack is bishop f7, which is also attacking the rook on a8. You see, as a direct attack, I don't want to include bishop to d5 because it's true the bishop on d5 is attacking the bishop on b7, but the bishop on b7 is still defended by the queen. So in the end, I'm not attacking anything. If I want to include it, if you want to include it, go ahead and put it in. But let's say a direct attack is one that actually threatens to take something. And another direct attack, definitely bishop to d4, which is attacking the queen. Obviously, you see the bishop is hanging, but let's list them all anyway. And so for the same reason, bishop to d2, which is attacking the knight. After that, still as direct attacks, we definitely have queen to g4, queen to h4, queen to g3, which attacks the bishop. We have the move g3, which attacks the bishop. And another direct attack could be knight to f5. Knight to f5, which attacks the queen. Okay, pawn contacts. In this position, we probably don't need to note any. However, be careful. Pawn contacts, alias break pushes, are very important, so don't forget to include them. Perfect. Now let's start and go ahead and discard the moves that seem too foolish to us. So let's take our sheet of paper with all the moves and start cutting them out. So queen to f5, queen to f5, the pawn takes, queen is lost, I'd say. In short, that we can discard it. Right away, right? Queen to g3, we'll remove it because, well, it's hanging to the bishop. After that, other moves, some to be removed immediately. So bishop takes f4, bishop to d4, bishop to d2. Unfortunately, here there's a very simple theme, which is bishop to a 6 check, and after that it opens up. Obviously, the king has to move away, and the rook, especially if I put the bishop on d4 or f4, the rook remains hanging with checkmate. So definitely bishop to d4, bishop to f4, and also bishop to d2. We'll remove them because anyway, let's say black manages to win. For the same theme, then we also have to be careful about bishop. Bishop takes b6, the capture, right? Bishop takes b6, black simply plays bishop to a 6 check. Like before, we have to move, rook takes rook checkmate. So you see bishop takes b6, we can cross it out. So you see how the moves are decreasing. Slowly but surely, right? Okay. Here, obviously, the position is a bit problematic because the check comes anyway. I mean, black has a threat here, right? To give check and then also play knight to e2. And watch out, look at this variation. Check, the king goes to g1, knight to e2, check. And at this point, I can't take with the rook because the queen arrives on a1, giving the back rank mate. So definitely all these slow moves like queen to g4, like queen to h4, which only attack a minor piece, are not functional. Same thing for bishop to a4 as well. It's not functional because of bishop to a 6 again, and I get tricked. And also bishop f7. Bishop f7 is another move. Let's see it. Yes, let's see bishop f7. What is the problem with bishop 7? The thing is, we also have this knight hanging. So he could, for example, make this rook sacrifice, rook takes e3, or maybe give the check first. And at this point, his rook is no longer under attack because we moved it from e8, and then he takes our knight. So let's say that we can also discard bishop f7. For the same reasons, I'd say g3, which attacks the bishop, isn't particularly annoying because he can still move the bishop, maybe taking on e3. And honestly, we haven't gained anything. Bishop c5, obviously, is a concrete move that tries to play on the discovery to our advantage, but bishop c5, he just takes it, he basically takes it, and that's it. Then, yes, we can take the rook, but he takes back, and yes, maybe we give him check with the queen, but the problem is that we've already traded 1 and 2, we have no pieces left to give mate, so also bishop c5 loses a piece, it doesn't work. As if by magic, this move is remaining. Knight f5, which at the beginning we maybe weren't even considering, right? Because the knight is still hanging, right? Because the pawn can take. So at this point, our mind unfortunately does this. It makes us discard a move like knight f5 because we see that the knight is hanging. However, having noticed it, what do we see here? That in case of a capture, I can take back. And where exactly does the king go? He can't go here. He can't go here. If he were to go to e7, you can see there's some problem, right? Just to name one. There's even mate here, but just to name one, bishop d4, discovered check, obviously, and let's say unfairly obvious consequences. So watch out. Knight f5 cannot be captured. Maybe black can give a check. Okay, but I can move away. Can he give a check? Fine, but I can move away. And now if he maybe tries to take, as he would have done in the other variation, the bishop, obviously the queen is hanging. So this time, all of this cannot be done. And last but not least, so the last thing left to do is move this queen. And look how wonderful. Wherever we go to move this queen, now again, checks method, checks captures direct attacks. And look at this check that maybe doesn't even come to mind because it's a hanging queen, but it's the check that obviously the king has no squares. The bishop must take, the bishop takes, and this right here is a checkmate because the king has no squares left. And so queen g7 only move, bishop takes and checkmate. I mean, did you see how in this position the right move was a move like knight f5, which I'd never have noticed if I hadn't included it among all the candidates. After that, I go and remove the candidates that, well, it's clear I have to remove, only a few remain. And among those few, I start to see these small details that maybe make a move right. And so here, the knight to f5, this is a fairly complicated exercise, but very aesthetic, let's say. It was the correct move. So try to apply this method in your training so that then in games you're able, your brain automatically manages to look at certain moves without discarding them out of hand. This way you'll improve in calculation, you'll make fewer blunders, and without a doubt you'll become stronger because whoever calculates better becomes stronger, period. That said, I hope I haven't traumatized you too much with all these moves. If you want to support the channel, obviously subscribe, like, leave a comment. Feel free to write to me how much these exercises drive you crazy and how difficult they are. And I will see you all in the next videos.